SDNY prosecutors warned by judge after admitting, working with China, to prosecute Miles Guo, CCP's most wanted man by Matthew Palumbo on March 15, 2023. Miles Guo, a leading critic of the Chinese Communist Party and founder of the new federal state of China, was arrested by federal authorities in New York. Over 100 FBI agents raided his New York residence, handcuffed him, and then took him to court for interrogation on allegations of fraud. Suspicious circumstances surrounded the arrest. Hours after Guo was taken into custody, with presumably only FBI agents inside his home, a fire broke out and damaged the property. How does this happen without explanation with federal agents on his property? Were there documents they saw fit to destroy? Even days later, the origin of the fire is unknown, and its origins are getting more suspicious by the second it remains unexplained. The news of Guo's arrest spread like wildfire in the media and on social media, with many accounts affiliated with the American political left, and pro-CCP accounts, celebrating the arrest. Backlash from Guo exposing the corruption within the Chinese government forced him to flee to the U.S. from China in 2014 due to political persecution for exposing the CCP's secrets. He's remained a thorn in the CCP's side since moving to the U.S., and they've gone into overdrive targeting him. Guo's arraignment on March 15 was presided over by Judge Catherine H. Parker, and she made things interesting. Apparently worried about the government withholding critical information favorable to an accused, Judge Parker informed New York prosecutors that they have a legal obligation, continuing an affirmative, to disclose to Mr. Guo any and all information that may help impeach a government-produced witness testimony and/or is otherwise favorable to Mr. Guo, including their contacts with foreign governments or other contacts that may be conflicts of interest by any persons involved in the prosecution or investigation of Guo's case. It was a reminder they needed. In a moment where you could hear a pin drop, the prosecutors were forced to admit in court in front of a federal judge that they had worked a lot with China, the lawless regime with a vested interest in taking down Guo, during their investigation into him. This alone completely obliterates any credibility the prosecution may claim to have. Not content with verbal warnings in court, Judge Parker entered a written order on March 16 explicitly laying out the government's disclosure obligations and warned of serious consequences for non-compliance. Judge Parker, identified as nonpartisan, has every reason to suspect the prosecutor's true intentions. Guo's enemies in America being linked to the CCP have been a common occurrence since he was forced to flee CCP persecution. In 2017, then Senior Congressional Affairs Specialist at the DOJ George Higginbotham is reported to have secretly met with China's Vice Minister of Public Security to plot forcing Guo to return to China. Higginbotham also met with China's ambassador in the Chinese embassy in D.C. to further the same shared goal. In another high-profile legal action Guo has become ensnared in, this one between the Pacific Alliance Asia Opportunity Fund and him, which resulted in the Fed seizing a yacht belonging to his daughter and fining him $134 million. All parties had CCP ties. PAX is a subsidiary of Pacific Alliance Group, one of the largest private investment firms based in Hong Kong. The firm is headed by Sean Weijian, who has extensive ties to the CCP, and has written numerous articles singing their praise, and denying their well-documented human rights abuses. The judge presiding over that case, Barry Ostrager, himself is tangled in a web of financial conflicts of interest to China. The entirety of his career before being a judge was with Simpson Thacher and Bartlett, which has an extensive business presence in China, and has represented dozens of CCP-linked clients. Simpson, Thacher also lists a Chinese company in an investigation by the DOJ into potential theft of trade secrets among their clients, which they present as something they're proud of. Ostrager had recused himself from cases in the past where he had financial conflicts of interest, but not the one involving Guo. The removal of Guo to China is a CCP priority that extends to its highest leadership. When then-President Donald Trump met with President Xi Jinping in 2017, she personally requested Guo's return to China, which Trump presumably refused, perhaps knowing that would be a death sentence. The arrest of Miles Guo is troubling for anyone who cares about judicial integrity and the rule of law. It is a stark reminder of the CCP's willingness to use any means necessary to maintain its grip on power and silence its opposition, oftentimes by infiltrating the U.S. justice system. We should applaud Judge Parker for raising suspicions where promptly warranted. Indeed, the implications of the prosecutor's admission, that they are actively working with the CCP to prosecute Mr. Guo, are monumentally disastrous. Are there any Chinese law enforcement officers on American soil helping to prosecute Mr. Guo? What is the extent of the U.S. government's collaboration with the CCP? Remember, the CCP is hell-bent on destroying America, and Mr. Guo just happens to be in the way.